2021 was a big year for Michigan agriculture. As we bid farewell to this year and welcome in 2022, let's take a look back at the most watched stories from this year's Farm News 5. It's no secret Michigan is one of the most agriculturally diverse states in the country. Second, actually, just behind California. There are 300 commodities grown and produced here, and the Farm News 5 team recently paid a visit to a Lapeer County farm to get up close and personal with its lavender crop.
We started the farm in 2015. My husband and I had done a lot of research about agricultural options to do here on the farm. Cranberry bogs were looked at, garlic and hops, all kinds of things, grapes. But my husband landed on lavender. I think looking through photos online, going to look at farms in Washington State, things like that, and kind of invoking the flavor of Europe with the French fields of lavender, and he thought that would draw a lot of people. So he planted our first field in 2015, about 9 varieties then. We were not very knowledgeable about either lavender or farming, so we have learned a lot over the last 5 years. I'm Tricia Dennis at Indigo Lavender Farms in Emily City, Michigan. So lavender is a perennial. We plant it as a field plug. It does not need a lot of water, and in fact it doesn't like to be too wet. So the lavender is very drought hardy. It will grow and mature in 2 to 3 years, and then has a lifespan for production purposes for about 10 to 12 years.
One Southeast Michigan family hopes to turn their heartbreak into healing. In November of 2019, Keith Eisenman fell to his death on the Blissfield farm he worked at with his brother and wife.
Been farming together my whole life with him, and we each had our jobs. You know, he was more the mechanical, and I was more the accounting. But when it came to work, we kind of shared the workload. Just a great guy to work with, and we just never had an argument. It was great working with him. I miss him every day.
Following his death, Keith's late wife, Barb, and brother Zell were fined thousands of dollars by the Michigan Occupational Safety and Health Administration for not reporting his death, a workplace fatality, within 8 hours.
My brother, he manages a grain elevator, and he's dealt with them before. And he basically told us, yeah, you're going to be fined. But we had no idea the magnitude of it. Yeah, it was a punch in the gut, no doubt.
But House Bill 4031, introduced by Representative Brana Colley, seeks to lower those fines and increase the time in which family members have to report a fatality on a small family farm.
Imagine if your loved one, your husband, your son, your mother or daughter were to lose their life tragically, as unfortunately sometimes happens on our smaller family farms. And the last thing on your mind in such a moment is contacting MIOSHA, and to only have 8 hours to do so in the midst of that kind of trauma is heartbreaking, really. It's insensitive, and it is unfair, and it isn't applicable in these family farming operations.
She's been in touch since the outset. She heard about the family and their situation, and frankly, I think felt the same as a lot of us, that there was some insensitivity and sort of unrealistic expectations built into the MIOSHA statute. And so
the legislation also defines what constitutes a small family farm.
It's a pretty simple definition that we all can understand. A family farm means a farm in which the majority of the business is owned by the operator and his or her family members, or a farm that's organized as a sole proprietorship, partnership, or family corporation. And this next piece is the key, because I think of some of the much larger operations, like a large dairy operation that has a lot of employees to help run it. Family farm does not, and this is in the bill, does not include a farm that is organized as a non-family corporation or a farm with a hired manager that is not a family member of the operator.
The bill is awaiting a hearing in the House Agriculture Committee. A years-long bank fraud case involving a Southwest Michigan farmer that has had a ripple effect throughout the agriculture community came to a close this week. Mike Stamp was sentenced to serve 8 years in prison for committing bank fraud and lying to the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation. Stamp will also have to pay nearly $23 million in restitution. According to prosecutors, Stamp lied about how much land he owned so he could defraud banks to get more credit and use the money for personal gain.
The judge hit the nail on the head when he said the fraud was rampant, and he said it was a ripoff of the taxpayers of the United States who fund the federal taxpayer benefits programs, the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation, RMA, FSA, and his characterization of the fraud, I think, absolutely encapsulated what happened here. He really hurt farmers. He used his neighbor's information to pull off the fraud. He used other things. And he really left a scar on Southwest Michigan, which has been dealing with this ever since 2012.
8 others have also been convicted, including Stamp's wife, Melissa, and her brother. Michigan's asparagus harvest is in full swing. After a slow start due to cooler temperatures, this week's warm-up allowed Oceana County's Golden Stalk Farms harvest crews to begin picking in earnest.
Today the goal is to pick a lot of asparagus. It's going to be a really big day. We're hoping for probably 90 pallets, which would be about 60,000 pounds. With the temperatures the way they are, most of the fields are going to be picked twice. So the biggest goal is just staying on top of everything and making sure that the crews are moving to the fields they need to get moved to, and the asparagus is being picked for the market that it needs to go to based off the quality. When it's 77 degrees out, it's growing so quickly you have to be checking the fields every 2 to 3 hours because they're growing, and you need to make sure that the crews that are on them are going to be able to get them picked, or do we need to bring another crew over here to make sure this gets picked before it gets too tall. We have to pick some fields twice when it gets this warm, so keeping an eye on that to let crews know if they when they finish, if they have to go back and start at the beginning again.
Golden Stalk Farms has close to 300 acres of asparagus, with the majority of their crop going to the fresh market.
This goes to Todd Greiner Farms for fresh, and then he takes it to, I believe, Meijer and Walmart. So you'll see it. You'll see Todd Greiner Farms asparagus at Meijer and Walmart in Michigan, and I think throughout the Midwest.
And that's a wrap on 2021. From all of us at Farm News 5, I want to thank you for supporting this show and wish you the best in the new year. Oh, and for the last time, have a great week of farming.